Hello, hello, hello to everyone out there. I am IllegallySam, and you are going to be seeing a Levelhead speedrun. It's a great indie game if for anybody who doesn't know about it. It's mainly focused on user-generated content with, Mario Maker 2 style level building editor and everything, but we're going to be running through the campaign today. And so you're going to be seeing a lot of what this game has to offer, because it has a lot to offer. And yeah, that's about what I have to say before we get started here. There will be a couple more things before we start, but that's the gist for this game. Yeah.
Okay, so just before we get started here, Sam, I'm just going to do one final check right now of what color actually won, to make sure no very last minute donations have come in. And no, it looks like we've had nothing new come in yet, so we are going green for a greener earth, just for you to be aware.
All right.
So yeah, Levelhead. This is a game that, much like you said, very much themed behind Mario Maker and the style of that game. User content, user generated levels, everyone builds their own stuff, going from there. I've got to ask, because when I played it myself was quite some time ago last I played it, and I know there was a little bit of, how Mario's got its Kaizo scenes going on. There was a little bit of that developing within Levelhead at the time. Is that something that's grown at all to your knowledge?
Not particularly the Kaizo scene. There's always people making those kinds of levels, but yeah, I'd say the things that have developed a lot are just the huge contraption levels, with people being able to do a ton of stuff with this game's channel and channel system, as well as a lot of people making intentionally bad and frustrating levels, because that will never change.
I mean, okay, that last one sounds a lot like me. That hurts, I'll be honest with you, but I forgive you. But no,
intentionally bad, not... They're doing it on purpose to make people frustrated. I am one of those. I
mean, I'd like to claim that mine were intentionally bad, I'll be honest with you. But no, let's see, let's get this going, because this is going to be an exciting run to watch, and give us a little rundown of the campaign and the story after you've got our countdown. But whenever you are ready, count us in. Let's get going, people. All
right. And before I started, I did change a couple settings so that I can restart faster when I mess up. And I put my cursor in a specific spot because there is one dialogue box I have to clear in the entire run. So it's in the perfect spot for that. But now that that's all good to go, let's get started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Well, I'm not actually used to having a green GR18. I personally play with blue. But as we get started here, you can see it's most of your relatively basic 2D platformer stuff, except for this little box that I picked up there. It's called the package. The gist of every level in this game is you have to grab that package and you have to get to the goal at the end here, because you are a delivery robot. And so the whole premise of the game is you got this little delivery robot, GR18, and you're working for the Bureau of Shipping, trying to train this little guy. And so you're training him so that he can go out and deliver packages to the best of his abilities. And that's how the level creation all ties into everything, because you're making a bunch of levels to train him. And so that box right there, it's not just used for delivery. You don't just grab it, pick it up, and just run, go on your way.
Skipping training seminars.
There's a little bit more that you can do with that. Also, there's that one text box. Don't have to deal with that for the rest of the run. But as you might have seen in the first level there's a lot of tech that you can do to this thing. And so there's a little something called a super jump. That was a diagonal super jump right there. And a super jump is essentially jumping off of the package in midair, which is kind of equivalent to a kind of double jump. And so the way that works is since you're jumping off it in midair, as long as you are moving downwards and the package is moving downwards, you can land on it just like any other ground and just jump off of it in midair and make a lot of jumps you couldn't make otherwise. And so the first level, as well as this level, had a ceiling super jump, which you're banking the package off of the ceiling so that it gets a different trajectory to make it easier to jump in narrow spaces, or even just jump off of the package in areas you aren't normally able to. And so that's going to be used a lot throughout the run. Not in every level or anything. Not every level is as broken as some of the other ones, but they all have at least some kind of skip that I can utilize for the most part. And as you'll see, unfortunately, we are skipping all the cutscenes because they're slow. The cutscenes in this game are very entertaining, and I would highly recommend watching them if you play this game for yourself. But, like I said, they're slow. And so that right there, I just did a shell jump against the wall, because those green enemies, they're called scrubs, and when you defeat them, they drop a little shell. Kind of like Koopas from Mario. That's the easiest comparison to make for anybody not familiar with this game. But that shell, you can just pick it up and bounce off of it. And so by hugging the wall like I did and just throwing it directly in front of you, you just get an extra boost and can make a lot of extra jumps that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And it's worth mentioning these vendors here. These are your reward for playing through the campaign. They give you those little icons for your levels, and they also give them for your character profile. And so, by playing through the campaign, you can just unlock a lot of them to give your levels a little bit more personality. Alright. That level is one that I don't usually mess up, but whenever I do, it's really scary, because it loses me a lot of time. But you'll probably notice there's a lot going on in this run, so I will not get everything perfectly, as you can expect from a speedrun, but even more especially so in this game. But because the respawn animation is so short, resetting after death, thankfully, is not too painful. And as you can see, the camera in this game, it's pretty lenient because you can just go off screen on any level that does not specifically block you off. And so if you can get above a level and you can get back into the level, you can just end up skipping a ton of stuff. This same thing works for the sides and even the bottom of the map, somewhat. The bottom of the map still kills you, but if you can finagle your way back up in time, it will work. And so, it's also worth mentioning what I did right there. You see this goal and has all those little dots above it. Those are just a little bonus for finishing the level. It's like, if you end up above the goal, the higher you are, the more points you get. It's your dunk bonus. However, if you also look at it, I have to reset because I needed that box. But that little dunk bonus, it loses time because it has an animation as it plays out. And so, on every level that I possibly can, I will be attempting to just essentially get a minimum dunk, because the animation is the shortest when it does not have to make you drop down at all after finishing the level. And so, the way that works is each dot is 300 points, and if you get anything above 0, it has a starting animation that lasts like about a second, and then you also have to fall down. Yeah, that's the timing there. But if you just get 0 points, that 1 second starting animation pretty much is non-existent, and so it is always better to get 0 points than anything else. But if you can just get lower down and it loses no extra time, then obviously you will also want to just get, 300, 600, 900 points as opposed to the 3,900 points that you get for getting that max dunk.
I hate meetings too,
I just want to jump in very briefly and say, as someone who used to work for a delivery company, I appreciate the developers of this game giving us a dunk bonus, because I've most certainly heard many people accuse many delivery drivers of dunking their parcels. And I'm sure everyone's experienced it. We've all got bad delivery companies everywhere. It's just one of those things, but it gives me a little chuckle.
I'll just send you an email about it.
And it definitely makes you feel a little better when you know that it's not just the package getting dunked, it's the delivery person as well.
That is very true. Very true.
Yeah, and that's...
So, sorry, go on.
Now I was just going to talk about this level, because we are coming up on the first power-up of the run. But this power-up is called the Tiptoe. It lets you cling the walls, cling the ceilings, and as you'll see, not in this level, but in later ones, it also lets you go in a little stealth mode by hiding in a bush. And that stealth mode lets you hide from enemies as well as go through them without taking damage. And so it's easily one of the fan favorite power-ups just because it feels really good to control and gives you a lot of extra movement options. But it's also one of the more simple power-ups, so...
I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way about this, but I've always felt that this design with this power-up, the face always gives me a total Spider-Man vibes.
Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional or not. I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels that way with you clinging to walls and ceilings and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't care if you saw that anyway.
Right, and then this level is the prime example of just going off the side of the map to skip a bunch of stuff.
Okay, have I got 2 seconds just to step in here?
Yep, go for it.
So we don't actually have, or at least let me double check, I don't believe we have any donations to update. However, I do just want to give a couple of reminders of some of the incentives that we've still got going on. So we've got Beat Mania coming up later in just over 12 hours on the estimate. And that is to play the Gold Rush mode. We've also got to save the Decora in Super Metroid, so which is it's a cool little trick. It's not particularly hard, but it's definitely a good way to make the runner waste time just for our own amusement. And we've also then got a couple of bid wars left. We've got Blaze versus Sonic as the character of Sonic Rush, which currently Blaze is at $20 to $2 for Sonic. And of course, as I've already mentioned with Super Metroid, we will have Save the Animals or Kill the Animals. Do you want Fusion to be canon? This is your chance to let Nintendo know. But back to you there, Sam. Tell us a bit more about what's going on.
All right, so this level right here, I mentioned the scrub shells before. They aren't just used as things to bounce off of, or even things to damage enemies. Another important thing that they can do is hold down pressure switches, right, like this right here. And so this level intends for you to go out of your way, you know, jump through a bunch of obstacles, grab a box, come back there, and then put that box on that little switch there. But by just saving a shell, we can skip a good chunk of this level. And that will not be the only time I do that either. And so those are some of the most versatile items in the game that you can get from an enemy. Because every enemy has its own unique item that it drops. And we will be using some of them, we will not be using all of them, unfortunately. And we're also coming up to the next biome, because every level, you know, it's got that background. All those levels up there had that, you know, lush green background. But as we move on, there's 4 biomes in this game, and each biome kind of marks a turning point in the run, in a sense. Alright, I don't have sprint. Okay, there we go. It's also worth mentioning, I've been doing it a lot. Oh, that's not great. I've been doing a lot throughout the run, which is getting sprint speed, which is, you know, I start that little running animation and I start moving faster. But that's not just important by, you know, actually moving faster in a speed run, which obviously is very important, but it also gives you an extra tile of jump height. And so there is a lot of instances in this game where, in order to get through the level as fast as possible, that one tile of jump height is required, essentially, to do the fastest route. And so if I do not have sprint somewhere, it is usually faster to reset and have to redo a lot of stuff just to get sprint than it is to try and get through the section without sprint, because I will have to do an entirely different route. And that's what happened on that last level. As you can see, there's a lot of types of obstacles in this game. There's, you know, a lot of normal types of things in this game that you would expect in any kind of platformer. You know, you got your fire, you got your saw blades, all that good stuff, but this game doesn't isn't content to just call them fire or saw blades or anything like that. You know, you got your fire bars, or as this game calls it, you know, Bernie whirlers. Or they're not saw blades, they're whiz blades. You know, they're not little fans or anything, they're called sky wigglers, and so on and so forth. And lots of stuff in this game just has, you know, quirky little names like that. which just adds to this game's charm, because this game was made from people that you can tell care a lot about it because of all the little types of things that they put in. And also, another instance of a super jump, just skipping a good chunk of the level by not having to do that whole intro section. And as I mentioned, you can kill enemies with those scrub shells as well, which is why it's one of the most useful items. As well as using it to hold down a switch. And it's worth mentioning right there, when I pick up an item and throw it straight downwards, it gives me a little boost of height right there, and so I used it to get around that corner and make it into that tunnel that I was not supposed to make it into yet. And so there is definitely a lot of instances where that extra tile of height is needed, and so if I throw an item down to get back up somewhere, that is why that works. I'm not just starting to float out of nowhere or anything like that.
So would this be just a good time just to jump in again very quickly?
Yep, go for it.
So yeah, so there's no new donations to announce as at the moment. However, I just wanted to jump in and just remind everyone that we're currently raising this money for #TeamSeize, and the whole point of this is that for every dollar we raise, we will be able to clean 1 pound of rubbish, trash, whatever you may call it in your locale, out of the ocean. And as you can see, currently we're at $1,146, so we're going to be getting a good amount of trash cleaned up, but there is a lot more to go. So guys, if you're able to, any donation is appreciated. We are very, very happy to take whatever we can get from people, and thank you again to everybody who has donated so far, because you've already made this far more of a success in terms of the finances than we could have hoped for. And also, as always, thank you to all the runners getting involved, because we are having a lot of fun with all of these runs. Yeah, so guys, thank you so much all around. And Sam, sorry, I'm taking up your talking time here, so you jump back in whenever you're ready.
It's all good. Yeah, as you can see here, we have our second power-up of the run. This is called the Zipper. And it's very simple. It just lets you do a little zip forward. And so it lets you move several tiles forward with a little short distance teleport. But the important thing about that teleport, it doesn't just move you forward, it also puts you through walls. Which, if you can imagine, being able to go through walls is very powerful.
Care if you saw that anyway.
In a game with in a game with walls that people don't think you can go through most of the time. And so there will be more than one instance of just skipping chunks of the level because you can just go through walls you're not supposed to.
This was probably one of my favorite power-ups when I used to play. Just I don't know, it was just always fun to me. There's no particular reason why I prefer it over anything else other than it was just always fun for me, this one. Yeah,
this is definitely some people's favorite power-up, simply because you can break so many levels with it. Because people don't realize that you can break so many levels with it. Also, this right here is one of the hardest levels in the run because it is very dangerous. But thanks to a relatively new strategy, it became a lot easier, which involves getting sprint at the beginning there so you can make it to that platform in time. That platform normally is just out of reach, and if you play through the level normally, you will never be able to land on it. Alright, I actually got everything first try, that's good. But any death on that level costs you anywhere from 6 to like 10 to 15 seconds, and a lot of those tricks are not easy to pull off. And so any death on that level loses you so much time, which is why it's easily one of my least favorite levels in the run. It's really fun to get first try on everything, but I get first try on everything like 1 in every 3 runs, so...
In my experience, 1 in every 3 runs having a good one is pretty good numbers overall.
Yeah, trust me, that is by far not the hardest stuff in the run, though, that I go for.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I do not doubt that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a trick later on that I've gotten, I think, total 5 times ever in runs, so... like I said, by far not the worst thing, but it is a huge time loss every time I mess something up there. And sometimes I mess it up by, 3-4 times, which all of a sudden I'm 30 seconds behind after that level.
Oh, yeah.
And here we have a level that, if you're good, is just a hold right level, and you never need to do anything other than hold right and jump. But it's very difficult to do that, so do not go for that. Yeah, because it's worth mentioning Intuition, who was in here earlier. He very vehemently tried to get GR18 to not be green. He is one of the best runners of this game in any capacity, whether it's user levels or the campaign. But a lot of the newer skips in this run were found by him. And only either anything in this run that was not found by him was either found a long time ago or was found by one of the other top runners, but most of the new tricks were found by him. I will mention, and I want to make sure I shout him out because he is the world record holder. He is better than me at this game most days of the week.
I mean, we're happy to give him a shout out anyway, because anybody who's willing to throw in a $100 donation, hey, we love you guys. We love you. Like any donation, we love you. But $100, it's a lot to give up in one donation, and we are very grateful for that. So thank you, Intu, for that. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie though, I've still got my fingers crossed that Sam's about to take a world record on this run.
I think to be perfectly honest, I probably have already made too many mistakes. The world record is far from perfectly optimized, but it is very good.
No, I can understand. At the end of the day, that's often the case with any sort of speed run. It's unless it's a brand new, we're a couple of weeks old game. Odds are, yeah, it's going to be a tight run to actually get through.
Yeah. Intu's world record, I believe, is about 43 minutes and 45 seconds or so. I forget the exact number. My PB is 44 minutes and 34 seconds. And so, in order to beat him this run, I would have to already PB by 45 seconds. Which, I mean, marathon PB, it could happen, but odds of that are very low. And this stretch of 5 or 6 levels are some of my least favorites. Not because they're bad levels, but because messing up on them costs a lot of time, and they are not difficult. They're not difficult levels to do correctly, but they're very easy levels to mess up. I was able to get
I would say... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying I got the fast cycle on that level, which I do not get very often.
All I was going to say was that I think that whole, not necessarily difficult levels, but ones that can easily waste you a lot of time in the speed run, I think that might be a trope of game design as well, because it just seems like there's always at least a level or two in games that do the same thing.
I meant to grab that armor there, so I won't be able to do the cool ending, but thankfully I didn't lose too much time from that. Because armor in this game, if you get hit by something with armor, you will get a burst of speed away from that object.
Never mind, I'll just send you an email.
And if you're prepared for that, it's a very good way to just get a burst of speed and move faster through a level. But most people just get frustrated with it because they're not expecting it.
I'd imagine that for most, especially casually, I'd imagine most people who get that boost off the armor are getting boosted the wrong way from what they want to, because they weren't aware it's going to happen as well.
Yeah. Especially when you're trying to do precise platforming while also taking damage and moving in a direction you weren't expecting. It makes things very difficult. Also, that's just another instance of zipper cheese, because we just don't need the key. Alright, and this is the first map warp of the run. That's actually a little piece of tech I found about I'd say a month or two ago. But in case you didn't notice, there's that little animation with the spaceship every time you're moving between levels. And the distance between some of the levels is really far, and so it ends up taking, 2, 3, 4 seconds to get to the next level. But if you just open the settings menu and close the settings menu, it just instantly puts you on the next level, and so you don't have to watch that animation. And so since you have to open the settings menu, it's not like an instant trick or anything, but for some of those levels where it's like 3-second time between levels, it absolutely saves time to open the settings menu to skip that animation. And so throughout the run, I'd say it saves about 4 seconds total, which isn't a ton, but considering it's very easy and essentially free, it's worth doing.
Okay. I mean, one thing I do like to ask, because I'm always curious about it, is
you're a real go-getter.
What's your least favorite part of this speedrun, and why?
I mean, it's the easiest thing with this game is, since it's just a collection of levels, you just point to a specific level and say that's my least favorite part of the run. But the problem is, my least favorite level depends on what level kills my run, usually.
No, that's completely fair. I 100% understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah, but I'd say my least favorite part of the run, outside of, specific levels, is just sometimes the levels are cycle-based, and one mistake will cost you, 10, 15, 20 seconds because you can't go any faster. And so while those levels are usually not too bad, there's a couple of them that are just very frustrating to mess up on for that specific reason.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I can fully understand that.
Also, I messed up this skip, but this uses another one of the enemy items. It's called a pop jaw medallion. Why am I'm just grabbing too early and I'm not getting the package. Okay. But basically the pop jaw medallion is you throw it down and then you teleport to it after a set amount of time. And so what you're supposed to do is, go through that... Alright. I haven't messed this level up a ton in a while, so figures I was due for it. But basically you're supposed to drop down normally and then go back up that right side there. And so we can just skip it by teleporting back up instead.
I mean, that's the sort of
skips you gotta love, haven't you?
That's one of the oldest skips too, because that's been around well before I ever started looking into speedrunning this game.
So when roughly did you start speedrunning this game?
It's worth mentioning, I started playing this game back when it launched in general, because it came onto Xbox Game Pass, which is where I found it. And I started playing this game. It launched at the end of April 2020. And so I've been playing the game for about a year and a half, and I started doing ILs for the campaign about, I want to say, almost a year to the date, because it was last December. But I didn't actually do my first full, campaign run until the end of this summer. But by that point, I had already grinded out more than half of the levels by themselves. And so there was only a solid 15, 20 levels I hadn't really learned how to speedrun yet when I started doing the full run.
That's fair enough. But funny enough, I wasn't 100% sure on the dates in terms of when I just checked on my Steam, and I actually last played this May 2020. So I did have it a little bit of early access, and then it seems that I was just sort of okay, I gotta step away from this. I think I was getting too addicted to it, to be honest. Spending way too much time just playing and making really, really bad levels.
Yeah, this game is very addicting once you get into it, because it's so focused on user-generated content. There is always something to do, because there's always people making new levels. They're not necessarily great levels, but that doesn't mean you can't have fun with them.
I like that attitude, I do. Just a very quick question for you, Sam, because somebody's just mentioned this in chat. They're wondering the story behind the name IllegallySam.
I wish there was a better story. There's really not. It's been my Xbox Live gamer tag since I was 13, which was my gamer tag because I was 13, and that's what I thought would be a cool gamer tag. Because I think most of us know how it is when you're, first getting online with games and that kind of sense. And so you just want to make something that sounds cool, and that's what I did. And then I got older, and I was too lazy to ever change it, and so I just stuck with it.
It's a good one, man. It's a good one. You don't want to change that anyway.
I mean, especially not at this point, but...
Well, yeah. But no, thank you for that. It is nice to hear where people's names come from streaming-wise, because some people have got these absolutely ridiculous stories. Some people have just got, it's just, here's my name since I was whatever. And it's always good to know. Okay, so according to Tim Conceivable, you're called illegally Sam because you are so fast that it's actually a crime.
I wish I had thought that far ahead, but I don't even
I would
think
definitely start using that story from now on.
That's definitely an option, yeah. But I don't think 13-year-old me even knew what speedrunning was, so I don't think I improved it intentionally, so... Also, this is just yet another level where zipper cheese is very easy. You can just go outside the map and then go to the goal. And this next level is one of the most infamous. It's not a terribly difficult level once you know what you're doing, but if you don't spend, 30 minutes to an hour plus just ironing out a route, and depending on how optimal you want to make it, it'll take a lot longer than that. But if you don't spend the time to figure out a route for this level, it will absolutely kill runs. Because it's just a very vertical level, and so any mistake causes you to lose a lot of time on it. But I've grinded this level a lot, so that is not still a problem for me, thankfully. I still mess it up from time to time, but it is a lot less often. Yeah, because all these platforms are on cycles. You can only wait most of the time. There's not much you can do. Yeah, because platforms in this game, beyond the fact that, they're moving platforms, which already makes them difficult to deal with, they give you the momentum of the direction they're moving in when you jump. And because of that, a lot of people really don't like platforms because they think momentum is very janky, which is somewhat true. But it's very important to deal with as well. And this is one of the skips into found relatively recently on this level. My timing's a little off. But this level, normally if you do everything as fast as you can, it'll take, 50 seconds to a minute, which is pretty long for this game. Is my timing so bad I can't get it? I might have to reset the level. I'm just gonna do it. Better than wasting another 20 seconds trying to get it. But the funny part is, even after messing that up for 20 seconds, it'll still save time. Because this level is very long, and the skip shaves off a lot of time. Or at least it would if I didn't continue messing up, even with better. There we go. So yeah, you just get that weird damage boost and get launched up above the map and skip basically everything. And then since you have zipper where you're not supposed to, you can skip even extra stuff at the end of the level here. And so normally that saves a lot more time. I did not do it super well, but the record for that level used to be about 54 seconds. After that skip, the record is now under 17 seconds, which is by far the biggest skip in any level in a very long time. Flingos, which are what these things are called. They're not like grappling spots or anything like that. They're called flingos, because again, fun names for everything. But they make you go very high and very fast if you know how to use them. And so it is very, very good to utilize that momentum when you can. And these two levels will demonstrate that kind of stuff, because they are focused around the object. And this level is one where you're supposed to, go from that center out to each of the four corners, but the two on the right, you can just go around the edge there and get that switch. And And then here you can just fling back with a bunch of speed. It would help if I grab them though. Alright, Swoopadoops are one of the fan non-favorite enemies. A lot of people hate them.
How could anyone hate the Swoopadoop?
Very easily.
I mean, listen to that name. Listen to that name. How could you hate that?
Never mind, I'll just send you an email, I guess.
I'm one of the people that doesn't find them that frustrating because if you know how to deal with them, they are not that bad. But they are one of the few enemies in the game that has any RNG tied to them at all, which is with the angle they charge towards you at. And so it is very easy to, you know, try and get through a level or speedrun a level and just have a bad swoop angle screw everything up. And since I mentioned RNG, it's also worth mentioning this game has basically no RNG, and the only RNG you'll ever see is intentional from the level creators. The game does not inherently have any, especially not in the speedrun, and so I can't blame that for any of my mistakes, unfortunately.
I mean, it's like the double-edged sword of speedrunning, isn't it? You know, no RNG, you love it because it works. You know, the run is far easier to get consistent, but also you kind of hate it because you now no longer have RNG to blame when you do mess up.
Yeah. Also, I never mentioned it, but this right here is the Waylay. It's the third power-up of the run. I actually got it like a while back, but I just forgot to mention it. It gives you that that little dash, where if you're in the air, it gives you the diagonal dash, and if you're on the ground, it gives you the horizontal dash. And if you have sprint, and you do a dash on the ground, you get a huge diagonal, or a huge horizontal dash, which is very, very good for speed, because you go very fast with it. This level up here is a very unique level because the whole gimmick of this level is there's tons of enemies. It gives you all of the tools to kill them, but you can't kill a single enemy. Otherwise, the level will kill you back. Like this item I have here, it's called Electro Shield. If you touch an enemy while you have Electro Shield active, you will kill that enemy instantly. And so you'd want to avoid every enemy with that. You want to not jump on any of these enemies, and just by dodging all of them, you can get through this level. Casually, it's a very frustrating level, and when you're speedrunning, it can also be frustrating, but it is one of my favorite levels to get clean, and I thankfully did get a clean run of it. And you'll hear me mashing a lot to get through these because I am on controller, because I play this game on console. If you play the game on PC, you do have a slight advantage, because there's no delay between opening each of them. You can just click through them all with the mouse, but I don't have that advantage, unfortunately. And also we're coming up on the fourth power-up of the run here, the Ripcord. And, you know, again, relatively simple power-up. You know, it's got your jetpack and it's got your hover. That's all it's got, really. But because it's got a jetpack and a hover, it is a very useful power-up. Also right there, I did the only pixel jump in the run, which I used to recharge my boost so that I could get up to the next area faster. But a pixel jump is essentially almost every obstacle in this game has a circular hitbox, not a square one, and so you can just stand on the tile that they're on top of, as long as you're precise enough. Also, this is the skip I mentioned that I've only gotten 5 times total. I did not get it. I am not going to reset the level trying to go for it again. But despite the fact that I basically never get it, it is always worth going for because, you know, since the game respawns you so quickly, I only lose, you know, a handful of seconds for going for it, and it saves 10 to 15 every time I get it, and so saving 10 or 15 seconds.
Can't fault those numbers. Yeah, you can't fault those numbers at all.
And plus, it's the only skip where you go under the map, and so if I had gotten it, it looks really cool, but going under the map is very finicky because the game tries to kill you very quickly if you do that.
Yeah, I can understand that. I tell you, the one thing that I am definitely getting from watching this run again is just remembering how much fun I actually had playing this game, because all of the power-ups are a lot of fun, the levels are a lot of fun. From a speedrunner's perspective, maybe not so, but the enemies are all a lot of fun in my opinion as well. This has been so much fun to watch.
Yeah, you mentioned the enemies. It's like most people hate specific enemies, usually from a casual sense. Everybody has their least favorite enemy. Some people hate Swoop-a-Doops, some people hate Flip Whips, which were those enemies with the tongues. Everybody has their least favorite. I personally hate Flapjacks, which are those bouncing blue things. And that's just because of speedrunning. And because their bouncing is so unpredictable, it's just a nightmare to speedrun them, because the big ones require 5 hits, and if they just decide to bounce the wrong way, you get 2 hits and then get hit by them and get launched away or get killed instantly, and it's just very frustrating.
No, I can definitely. I do definitely think that speedrunning any game does change your perspective on just little things about it that you may or may not like.
This level utilizes the fact that explosions launch you very far. Sometimes not where you want them to. And sometimes where you do want sometimes where you do want them to. But that's a fun level to do, except for when it goes poorly. But thankfully that one went very well, all things considered.
Okay. So just so I can get a rough estimate on where we are in terms of the run, how long roughly would you say we've got left to go?
I would say probably 10-15 minutes, because there's about 10 levels left, I think. And the last 10 levels are some of the longer ones, but we're almost done. We're coming up on the tail end. It all depends on if I get through them quickly or not.
Sorry, I just want to mention, I've just seen this comment in chat from Glorious Cashew. I'm guessing this is when we were talking about the enemies, but a lot of people apparently hate all of them.
Yeah, that's fair. I do not blame them for that. Sometimes you just want a platform and not have to deal with obstacles in your way. You just want to feel fast. Yeah, this level is one where Flapjacks can absolutely screw you in that one spot, because if you're stuck with just the one Flapjack left, it is very possible that they just hop around and you cannot hit them with that one cannon. And there's almost nothing you can do about it. But thankfully I was able to use the Luzumis to kill them without too much trouble. And we're coming up on the best named level in the entire campaign, Grand Theft Grotto.
That is a good one, I like that.
Yeah. And it's a good time to point out, it's like, this game does not have a free naming system. You can't just type in anything you want, which is both a blessing and a curse, because if you want to put in a specific name, odds are you won't be able to, but sometimes you hit random a whole bunch of times on the words it does have in the game, in the combobulator as it's called, and sometimes you'll end up with a better name than anything you could have thought of.
I'm gonna have to ask, have you got an example, from your own experience of that?
Usually I don't hit random until I get a good name, but I know there's several creators that do. But personally, I'm a big fan of the fact that there's just a bunch of weird words in the combobulator, and that inspires people to make levels sometimes. Like how the word toaster is in the combobulator, and so somebody decided, hey, we're going to do a contest. You can only name the level toaster. Make whatever you want with that. And
okay, so that's pretty cool.
5 people made a level that had just the name toaster, and they were all very different.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Anything that can sort of bring a little bit more for the community as a whole is always well worth it.
And pretty soon we're going to be coming up in the final power-up of the run, the Rebound, as you possibly
Oh, I
gets eliminated.
forgot about the rebound. I love that one too.
Yes, this is
Like, I love all the power-ups. They're brilliant.
they're all a lot of fun, but this one is by far one of the weirder ones. Because as you can see, you know, standard fare for a platform where you get a projectile, but you don't just shoot a projectile. As you can see, you can bounce off the projectile, and it also gives you a burst of speed backwards. If you're on the ground, that burst of speed is just horizontal, and if you're in the air, it's diagonal. But if you're not used to it, it doesn't feel intuitive, but once you're used to it, it is very fun to work with.
Yeah, do you know what? I specifically remember, in fact, this being this power-up being the focus of some of my terribly made user levels. Just because a lot of people at the time seem to not be fans of it, and I personally think it's such a cool power-up.
Yeah, it is, like I said, it is difficult to get used to.
Yeah, that's fair.
And this level is going to have a lot of interesting stuff with it by chaining super jumps and the rebound. Because like a lot of these jumps were made for the rebound, but they weren't made for the extra height you get from the super jump, and so we can skip stuff and do them in ways that we aren't supposed to. And it's also worth mentioning the rebound has that 2-shot limit, where I can fire 2 shots and then I have to wait for it to recharge. However, that 2-shot limit... Oh, that's definitely not what I wanted to do. But that 2-shot limit, it's a soft limit, because it will start that recharge when you fire any shot, and so it can recharge basically instantly after you fire that second shot as a result if you time things correctly. And so you can get a triple shot if you time things in a very specific manner, which is kind of what I finagled there. Here we have the last auto-scroller of the run. Thankfully there's only 2.5 auto-scrollers total. But this one's by far the easiest and the simplest and the shortest, so I like this one. Yeah, you can get an idea of how long they intend for the levels to take, because there's that little time at the top next to the in-game timer for each level, and that's called the on-time delivery. And that's basically like a little goal time that they want you to meet. Sometimes we go a lot faster than that, and sometimes we come very close.
Yeah, I seem to remember just from casually playing this that the goal times are, I don't want to say inconsistent in terms of difficulty, but some definitely felt a lot harsher than others.
Yes, that is a very fair assessment. Also, it's worth mentioning this is the second to last level of the campaign, and yes, they did make the second to last level of the campaign a troll level. Thankfully, if you know where all the trolls are, it's actually a pretty fun level to speedrun. I like this one a lot. But if you're playing this casually and you don't like troll levels, you will hate this level because it's a good troll level. Alright. And we're coming up on the final level of the run here. It's a nice and meaty one because it's the longest level in the game. But that doesn't mean there's nothing that we could skip in there. Gives you a little fake out at the beginning. But this level is meant to be like a little celebration of the whole campaign, you know, implementing a lot of the mechanics. It'll have a section for each power-up. However, if we just take this box, super jump up here, we go straight to the ripcord section. We skip the entire tiptoe section. We don't need to do that. And so this level has a lot going on. It is a long level, it is a difficult level, but it is a very fun one if you can get a good run going on it.
So just to confirm as well, when you had that slowdown back there, that was a power-up, right? That wasn't lag.
I'd say it's a power down, but yes.
Fair enough.
Because there's a lot of instances where it's called slurp juice, where it slows down everything. It's in a lot of levels. We don't want it in any of them. It's just in this one specifically, it's mandatory. You cannot skip it. But it makes you go slower, so obviously we don't want it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Casually, it can be a good item because it makes things a lot easier to process and, figure out, but slow is bad. And as we pick up the zipper, we come up on the last section of the level, which is, you're supposed to grab every power-up again one more time. We can just zipper cheese our way through and finish the level. And that's time right there.
Okay, well, that is a fantastic run. So thank you so much for that, Sam. Anything you'd like to say before we head into transition and try and get the next run set up ready to go?
I'll mention this is a very, very fun game if you are a fan of level builders, platformers, both, neither. It's a fun game. I'd very much recommend playing it. What I showed off today was just the campaign. There is so much more to this game beyond the campaign. There is a lot of content that was released post-launch in like an update during that first summer that isn't even featured in this campaign. So if you were to download this game today, try it out for yourself, there is a lot to explore. The community in it, if you've been looking at the chat today, a lot of them turned out just because they care about Levelhead so much. And so the game, not only is it a very fun game to mess around with and play, there's a lot of very cool people that still play it very regularly and are very happy just to have people pick it up and try it. So if that interests you at all, I would very much recommend it.
No, that's fair. And you know what? I'm going to second you on that because I love, even though I already said it's been a long time since I played it, I loved every second of the time I spent with this game, and I would also highly recommend it to anybody who is just looking for a fun game that you can play seriously, casually. You can mess about with your own level design. You can mess about with other people's level design. It is an absolutely fantastic game. So just before we do hop off, one very quick reminder of our upcoming incentives. So we have now met the Gold Rush on Beatmania, which is fantastic. We're going to get to see a bit of that. We've got the Save the Decora in Super Metroid. We've got Blaze versus Sonic for the character in Sonic Rush, and we've got Save the Animals or Kill the Animals, Please for Super Metroid. And we also have, where is that? Is there any sort of message with this most recent one? We do. So we've got a donation here from Glorious Cashew saying, I don't care if it's too late to change GR18's color. I believe in the future supremacy. So you know what? I love you for that because I am also hashtag Team Magenta. This is good. But again, thank you, Sam, for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you to anybody who turned up for this run. It has been a lot of fun to watch, and it's been great to see chat having a lot of fun with it as well. Any final words before we sign off?
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to play this game, and it's always fun to show it off for more people because not enough people know about it.
Cool. There we are. So, yes, thank you so much again, Sam. Thank you to everyone. And coming up just after this now, once we've got a little bit of setup done, we have Journey to the Savage Planet by Bam Bam. Bam Bam has thankfully brought his own commentator, so I'm going to get to rest my voice a little bit. But I will actually be here throughout because I'll still be doing any hosting. So any donations you want to get in, now is a good time to do it. But again, thank you to Sam. Thank you to everyone who turned up to watch. Thank you to everyone who donated. And we will be back shortly. We're just going to head into a little break while we get the next run set up ready to go. Thanks very much, guys.